यहाँ पे जो है रोशन आवाज आ रही है, यहाँ जरूरी हो जाता है। रोशन
अंदर मॉडिफिकेशन
रोशन आवाज आ रही है?
नहीं आवाज आ रहा है।
इवन मतलब वहाँ पे बालकनी कवर करने के बाद
सर प्लीज बैठ जाइए। कौन नहीं आया वो देख के जरा फोन।
उसी के लिए नाम लगा दिया।
सिन्हा जी नहीं आया बेटा, सिन्हा जी
आ रहा है ना? तो आ गया ना?
प्रोफेसर बोलिए।
ठीक है ठीक है।
नोट फुट करना है। मैं बोले तो भाषण होगा, साइंटिफिक डिस्कशन तो है नहीं, इसलिए मैं छोड़ के
Very good morning to all of you. And today we all have gathered here to celebrate the National Technology Day. As you all are aware, that 11th May, all over India is celebrated as the National Technology Day after the successful launch of the Pokhran test in 1988. This day is generally celebrated to commemorate the technological achievements and excellence of India and create the awareness of technological relevance of India all over the country, majorly among the students and college-going kids. So today, it's a privilege. We have very honored and knowledgeable guests with us. So I won't take much time. Before that, I would request Director CSIR-IIP to kindly welcome the guest by offering the flower bouquet to Professor Vaidya. Professor Ramaya.
Madam Poonam? Yes. Madam Poonam is the head of engineering services of automotive.
I would request Dr. Ray to kindly hand over the shawl as a token of respect. Thank you very much, sir. So to begin with the program, I would now request Director CSIR-IIP, Dr. Anjan Ray, to kindly present the welcome address and formally introduce our guests today.
Good morning to everyone. Keeping continuing COVID protocols in mind and keeping in mind that we have a large number of people who have joined online through live streaming, we have held this event in a hybrid mode. And a very warm welcome to everyone online and our distinguished guests here on the occasion of National Technology Day. As we know, this is celebrated towards self-reliance in India, technological self-reliance, and it originated from a denial of strategic capabilities, which was then developed indigenously with our former late great president, Shri Abdul Kalam, at the helm of the initiatives. Today, we are privileged to have with us two very distinguished guests. Our guest of honor, Professor Ramaya, who did his graduation from Osmania University and his master's from Kakatiya, did his PhD in 1988 from IIT Kanpur, and was at CSIR NIIST Trivandrum after he completed his degree, his graduation. He has also worked as a postdoc in Germany, in the US, and visiting scientist at University of Mainz. His last assignment in CSIR was as director of CSIR Northeast Institute of Science and Technology at Jorhat. And he was a wonderful host on my visit there. He is currently Shri B.K. Birla and Srimati Sarala Birla Chair Professor at BITS Hyderabad, the Department of Chemistry. Professor Ramaya is he's a hands-on chemist. My experience of him as a scientific leader has been in many different committees, but everywhere you could see that he would bring deep science to bear on practical chemistry. And in photochemistry, he is an authority, and in photobiology, chemical biology. And today he has over 170 publications in top-rated journals with citations of over 5,000 and H-index of 43. He's also the editor of the Journal of Photochemistry and Photobiology B, Elsevier publishers. So we are equally privileged to have with us Shrikant Vaidya, a refiner at heart living by the motto of Pehle Indian, Pehle Oil, nation before business.
Pure oil.
Pure oil, yes, Pehle Indian, Pure Oil. He wishes to make the world a little better than before, follows the mantra of aim, act, and accomplish in tandem with the team. He is also a staunch believer in the power of innovation. He hasn't said that in his introduction, but during his tenure, Indian Oil has moved to implementing a large number of homegrown technologies. The biggest barrier to technology implementation in India has been this concept of where is the reference plant? And Mr. Vaidya has demolished that line of thought very effectively in his tenure as Director of Refineries and then as Director, CMD, Indian Oil. Because once a technology has been shown, somewhere you have to believe it. Someone has to take that first step. Someone has to sit on the first plane that flies and all of that. So he draws inspiration from Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, and Nelson Mandela. I will recommend to you, sir, an opera called Satyagraha, written by Philip Glass, if you're not familiar with it. It has three acts. The first act is called Tolstoy, and it represents Mahatma Gandhi's struggles in South Africa. The second act is Tagore, and it represents his movement towards establishing his principles of globalization. And his final act is called King, and how Martin Luther King was eventually inspired by Gandhi's movements. So Vaidyaji is also energized by the spiritual wisdom of the Dalai Lama, thrilled by Frederick Forsyth. That is again interesting because I used Frederick Forsyth's No Comebacks as a model for my own book of short stories, using the concept of a surprise ending.
Right.
And he is wowed by Clint Eastwood, and someday we will discuss my Hindi film work. Right. So as CMD of Indian Oil, he is also the non-executive chairman of CPCL, Ratnagiri Refinery, Indian Oil Tanking, Hindustan Urvarak and Rasayan Limited, and he's non-executive director of Petronet LNG. Mr. Vaidya did his chemical engineering for NIT Rourkela, joined IOCL in 1987 as a process engineer, and has continued to blaze a trail on how the entire integrated refining petrochemicals energy value chain should create value for the country, its people, and its employees. With these introductions, I would like to invite Professor Ramaiah to deliver his address of guest of honor.
Excuse me, sir. Before we begin, I would like to have your permission to record the proceedings of today's program.
Yeah,
please.
Thank you.
Thank you. Recording started, not yet. The recording is started.
Okay. Yeah, good morning to one and all, and the president of this function, and the director of the IIP, Dehradun, at Ranjandre, and the chief guest of the function, Mr. Vaidya, and my dear colleagues from CSIR-IIP, and invitees, ladies and gentlemen. So first and foremost, it is indeed a great pleasure and honor to be part of these celebrations. And in fact, I think you all know that I just came for some other purpose, but it's always nice to be part of these celebrations. We celebrate along with the Independence Day and Republic Day. We also celebrate as scientists National Science Day as well as the National Technology Day. So, the whole purpose of in celebrating this, of course, which started a few years back. This is how we can really inculcate the scientific culture in our younger generation, and also how technologies are very important for the growth of the nation. And that way, technology plays a major role, and it's very important. And on this special day, my heartiest congratulations to all the leaders of this great institute, CSIR-IIP, and all the alumni, all the members of this great institute, because CSIR-IIP has always been the flag bearer of CSR programs, and also it's always color feather in the CSR crown. It's always there, and the technologies that have been transferred came out and making a difference to this nation. So my heartiest congratulations to the leadership as well as the members of this great institution who have contributed immensely to the growth of this nation. So, but having said that, this institution has contributed so immensely, but then, the days are gone now. That many a times we used to see that CSR used to, or CSR organizations or institutes used to develop the technology. Sometimes they are only relevant to the local or the particular regions. But those are the gone of the days now. Now, whatever the technology that we work on, we want to get involved, or it has to be, globally acceptable and globally competitive. And also, the more recent phenomena is that it has to be environmentally benign. Unless we meet these criteria, I think things are not going to work. So my request to all the members, please dream big and have a positive introspection of what we are doing. And also the younger generation, younger colleagues. It's very important that, again, those days, some 30, 40 years back when I was a graduate student at IIT Kanpur, so the only idea is that if you have an idea, you just go to the lab and then implement it. Then we don't really look for its implications or whether it is a translational work or not, whether or how it is going to be impacting the society or not. But now things have changed. And this is wonderful time to be in India, to be a part of India, to be a part of the growth of this great nation, that it is going to be the one of the topmost. Of course, recently I think there is also people talk about that India is going to be the #1 economy in the world. But anyway, this, if we have to realize this, we have to reach anywhere close to that. So, we all have to give our might and we all have to be a part of this. And of course, the younger generation has to shoulder this responsibility, and we have the potential. We are no way inferior to anybody, but it's very important. But on this particular day, I just wanted to tell you very recently that I just came across a very note in Times of India. I think some of you might have noticed it. In Hyderabad edition, it has come. That I know you will be very surprised. Why I'm mentioning this is very important because CSIR-IIP has developed several technologies, but because I don't want to go into, and this is a night time for me, and because of the shortage of time, I don't want to go into the details. But one of the technologies that has attracted my attention is that the waste plastics to the diesel. This has a lot of potential. I think you should feel pride and proud, and that this can be taken to the every corner of the India. It's wonderful. And I was happy to know that it has already been established somewhere nearby. And that also I came out in one of the newspapers also, I've seen it. It's wonderful. I am very happy about it. Why I'm mentioning this? Because now after, stints over IIT Kanpur and then CSIR-NS Trivandrum and CSIR-NEST Jorat, now I am settling down in Hyderabad. And this Times of India brings out the statistical data on the waste. You will be amazed to know that in GHMC, that is the Greater Hyderabad Municipal Corporation, generates almost more than 10,000 tons per day waste, of which, again, plastic is another thing. And in fact, the BITS Hyderabad, campus, which is very located to Jawahar Nagar, and Jawahar Nagar also has, I think, one of the biggest dumping yard. What is the wastage dumped there? And after processing, it is almost like more than 12 million tons of waste is dumped there. And sometimes even the smell comes to the BITS Hyderabad campus as well, because now I am part of it. Now, what I'm trying to say is that so much waste is being developed, but we are not able to tackle it. And it is not only for the Hyderabad, I'm sure it is the same status with most of our municipal corporations and all big cities. And coming to the waste, this plastic waste, that is also quite huge. I was told that nearly 1,500 tons of plastic waste is generated in Hyderabad Municipal Corporation alone in quarterly. So that means we are generating if you roughly calculate, at least 15 to 20 tons of plastics alone being generated in one city. And the technology that you have developed has great potentials. Please take it ambitiously, aggressively. And it's my I don't know, in terms of how we can make a difference and take step by step. And again, at this moment, I'm also very happy to say that even I joined in BITS, and there is a huge project has been approved by the DST under the first program. And one of the objectives is also again related to the waste management. And let us join hands. And in fact, I will go and tell my colleagues also in BITS and whether we can join hands and then see that how at least we can make take first step, second step, and then make our presence relevant and then make a difference to that wherever we are. So with this, I think it is wonderful for me to be here, to be part of the celebrations. And I thank immensely the director and also the organizing committee for giving me this opportunity and also to share a few words. Thank you very much. And I wish each and every one of you a wonderful technology day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Ramaya. As always, your good wishes are with us and your inspiration will light our paths. So we accept with pleasure the suggestion that we collaborate. And we are working with a number of smaller companies that are trying to do plastic to diesel with their old homegrown technologies, which are not perfect. So that's a good place where we can collaborate because you have funding and we have some funding. Exactly. We can support those companies through our efforts. And then maybe we can reach out to Indian Oil. If we get a fuel grade, high quality product, we can reach out to Indian Oil to simply use it into their streams. And I am a big believer in decentralized models of carbon collection. Because every time I move carbon, I pay an energy penalty. In India, about 250 million tons that we import, we spend, based on the simple maths, we spend 2 million tons of that in simply moving it and its products. So that's 6 million tons of CO2 emissions we can target if we learn to decentralize. With that, I hand over to Mr. Vaidya for his words of wisdom to us on National Technology Day.
Professor D. Ramaya, Dr. Anjan Ray, HODs, young scientists and students at IIP, my colleague from Indian Oil, ladies and gentlemen present here, and those who have joined virtually. First and foremost, I want to give greetings on the National Technological Day, and I'm very happy to be here. I mean, I think a month back or so, Dr. Anjan Ray rang me up and said, please book your date for this. I immediately agreed because IIP is a very dear place to me. I've come here for my first training when I was in 1987. I was here for about 6 weeks. And then I had to come for the lectures for our trainees right up to 2010 or so. So I was immediately jumped to the opportunity. Now coming down to the business, what Indian Oil is doing. Today, the per capita consumption of energy in India is just 1/3 of the global average. And India is an aspirational economy. We are growing by leaps and bounds. We'll be $5 trillion economy by 25. And we have ambitions of becoming a $10 trillion economy by 2030. And growth in energy is directly linked to your growth in economic progress. So we firmly believe that the growth of energy will be growing at a phenomenal rate than ever before. In fact, just after COVID struck in March, there were some people who predicted doom for the oil industry. They said that the peak demand of oil, the world has already seen. It was in March 2020 when the peak demand that time was 99.8 million barrels per day. And unfortunately, many of the big companies, they started disinvesting from oil. Whatever investment they had planned, they started going back on the big investments. And it has really caused the globe a big price to pay. Because the peak demand of oil, we have already surpassed. We're already at 99 million barrels today. And it is said by 2027, the global demand will be 108 million barrels per day. So all that talk of world has already seen has gone for a toss. But the price we are paying today is that whatever investments were planned in the upstream sector, they have not happened. And please understand that even to maintain the current level of oil, you need regular investments. And today the world is at a cusp where we really feel that we may be falling short of oil. I'm not talking of the Ukraine crisis. That is simply something else. But this was coming on. This was expected that the oil will be very tight situation, even if the Ukraine crisis had not happened. So I think now again the companies have woken up. Everybody is again trying to invest in the upstream sector, which is extremely important because the energy security of the nation is absolutely number one. And a country like India, we just can't go green overnight. Going green is not changing an app on the mobile that I change the app and I go green. You have to ensure the energy security of the country. And a country like India, where the demand of energy is ever growing, I firmly believe that all forms of energy will have a place in India. Be it the conventional fuels, be it the renewables, be it the biofuels, and now what our Honorable Prime Minister has said about green hydrogen. So we will, as Indian Oil, we are taking steps in all the directions so that whenever a certain form of energy becomes real mature, we are there as a footprint. You must have recently read about the CMD of Maruti Udyog saying that the electric vehicles they don't make relevance if the grid is not green. Today, the grid in India is predominantly from fossil fuels, about 85 to 90%. Just about 7 to 10% is renewables. So electric vehicles don't make sense if the grid is not green. So he was saying, and he rightly said that the thrust should be on gas. Converting to gas is more of a priority in India than going electric. Electric has its own, disadvantages. We all know that. The mining of lithium, so much of energy is consumed. Then the disposal of lithium also is a big problem. So we have not overcome all these challenges. So we need to go in for gas in a very big way. Our Honorable Prime Minister has given India the target of 15% of gas in the energy pie by 2030. Today we are at about 6.2%. So it's a very ambitious target. And as a country, let me assure you that we are making all steps. Because first of all, you have to develop the infrastructure to import gas. Because India, unfortunately, is not blessed with either crude oil or gas. We are importing 87% of the crude today, and gas is about 50-55% in form of LNG. So we require ports to be developed. We require the infrastructure to be developed for gas consumption to go up. And that is all happening. And of course, all efforts are made by the government to increase the E&P sector also. You must have read that we have got a lot of area under acreage for the E&P sector, especially in the Northeast, which is supposed to have good finds of oil. Then our Godavari basin also, we are trying all efforts to get the natural gas consumption up. So all in all, what I'm trying to say is that the core business of Indian Oil, that is petroleum products and gas, will continue to be the dominant force, at least for the next couple of decades. And what the country needs, as I told you, is energy security first. So Indian Oil, as Dr. Ray also said, we are investing heavily in our refining technologies. We have planned 25 million tons of expansion that is going to fructify by 24-25. Today, Indian Oil is 80 million ton strong company with 11 refineries, and we'll be 105 million tons by 24-25. And again, unfortunately, all the crude will be imported because we don't have adequate finds in the country to support that. But then that's the reality we have to live with. But then what we can do is, when the Honorable Prime Minister has declared 2070 as net zero target, I think it depends on all the oil companies because the refining industry is a bulk emitter of CO2. We understand that. So we are trying to go in very big way on the energy efficiency because that is the low-hanging fruit. If you really make your processes energy efficient, you have integrated the refineries well with the petrochemicals, you can substantially reduce the CO2 emissions. So we are doing in a big way. In fact, you will be happy to know that we have tied GE and BGTS for remote monitoring of all my gas turbines in Hyderabad. So that is one big step we are taking because a power plant interruption causes huge amount of CO2 emission, even in the shutdown as well as in the startup. So we are taking all steps to see that the process remains extremely efficient. In fact, the Solomon benchmarking study, which is a globally accepted study, they always say that when you plan a new refinery, you should be in the quartile one. The best. So we have made sure that whatever new refineries are coming now, we have taken adequate steps right at the beginning so that we fall in the best quartile. That is the best operating efficiencies ever. That is the way we are trying to minimize the CO2 emissions from the current business. Then coming down to the SATAT scheme, that is the sustainable alternative to affordable transportation. Indian Oil today, about 25 retail outlets are there which are supplying the gas which we take from the companies which have set up the plants. But I was just discussing with Dr. Ray that though we have issued more than 2,500 letter of intents, the actual plants coming up in reality is extremely poor. So that is a cause of concern. So he was of the opinion that maybe technological intervention by way of a better yield and a less cost of production will come in a way to promote this project. Plus, I also believe that whatever bio manure that is produced, that also needs to get value, because suppose you feed 100 tons of biomass, then you get about 10 to 12% of gas and 30% becomes bio manure. So if the bio manure also derives value, then the entire plant becomes economically viable. So we are making efforts to that, and we have discussed some points about the bio manure. I think we'll take it forward. Now, coming down to the other big thing that is happening in the country is green hydrogen. Now, please understand the refineries are the single biggest hydrogen consumers in the country, bulk hydrogen consumers. Of course, today we make from natural gas, that is from fossil fuels. But if we have to go for green hydrogen, 70% of the cost of green hydrogen lies in the electrical power. So unless the renewable power, whatever the government has announced the schemes for transmission charges, where we go interstate transmission charges, unless we get the renewable power at the same cost as what is available at the generation point, it will be extremely difficult to match the fossil fuel hydrogen cost. And I think the government is focused on that. They have made a policy by which we're able to get green hydrogen at our doorstep in the refineries at the most competitive rates. Now, you must be also aware that Indian Oil has joined hands with L&T to manufacture electrolyzers, because we firmly believe that electrolyzers should be a new line of business for Indian Oil. We will not only be implementing this in our own refineries, but also we will be a strong player for giving this technology to the world, because our PM has a vision that India must become a green hydrogen hub. So we are taking all possible steps to strengthen ourselves in this direction. And we are now tying up with some licenses, because the hydrogen electrolyzer manufacturing, we don't have a technology in India as such. So we are looking at PEM technology, we are looking at alkaline technology, and we're tying up with, we are not yet tied up, we are looking at various options globally so that we get some firm people in place who will be helping us, and we'll be manufacturing that in India. So I think as a company, Indian Oil, we are taking the steps in all the possible directions so that we are able to maintain that balance of energy bouquet that I told you, because it will be an energy bouquet which will satisfy the needs of this country. And we are very confident that we have also a firm R&D in place. I think you all must be aware about our R&D at Faridabad. And recently we celebrated 50 years of our R&D. So our R&D is involved in making of all these differentiated fuels, like extra green, extra 100. I mean, they all give the efficiency, which is the need of the hour. Because as I told you, energy efficiency increase will be the least cost option and the low-hanging fruit. And we are making all out efforts to ensure that we're able to capitalize on that with our strength of R&D. So that is in a nutshell about what Indian Oil is doing. And next is coming to that is the bioethanol. The bioethanol story is a very big successful story in the country. I am very happy to announce that last month we have achieved 10% of blending in MS,
Congratulations.
which was a very, very long time awaited target. And now we have got the permission to move the excess ethanol from states like Maharashtra and Uttar Pradesh to the Northeast, which was ethanol deficient. So now we have rakes moving from Haryana going to Northeast also, and where the Northeast the percentage was low, even there we have achieved 100%.
Wow.
In fact, just 2 weeks back, we launched M15, that is methanol 15 product in Northeast. We have taken methanol from one of the companies in Assam Petrochemicals in Dibrugarh, and we have launched M15 as a pilot. So we are waiting for the response, because the automobile industry has to first give us the clearance that there is no harm in E10 and M15 if they are blended together. So we're waiting for the clearance from CM. But as a first step forward to break the chicken and egg story, we have launched the fuel. Now the onus is on them to come and say that this should be fine. Dr. Saraswat of Niti Aayog is very bullish about it. He says, yes, it will work. So we are also hoping it will work. So that will be also one way we can harness the excess methanol that is available in the country. And we can even import it if the need comes. So one more alternative to the automotive industry will be the M15 project along with the E10. Now, E10, I think you all must be aware, our country's target is to become E20 by 2025. And for that, again, the LOIs have been issued, and we have got a phenomenal good response. We require about 1,000 crore liters of ethanol, and we have already got letters of intent from all the possible people. Plants are in progress. So we'll be using the excess food grains, damaged food grains, along with the molasses to get the ethanol. So all in all, Indian Oil as a company, we are all set to do all big things in the energy sector. And one, before I conclude, I just want to tell you that yesterday, as you were saying about our ethos of Pehle Indian and Fir Oil, we honored about 45 Kargil Shaheed, their kith and kin yesterday, whom we have given the petrol pump in 2000, 2001. So yesterday, Mr. Dubey was good enough to organize a function wherein all the people we had given petrol pumps or the gas agencies, we had a function in the hotel. And I was very pleased to see that all of them are doing well now. As a family, we are very happy that we could support them in the times of need. We had invited the Major General, Mr. Khatri, also there. So he was also extremely pleased with the initiatives of Indian Oil. So I think these small initiatives will make a difference to the lives of people, especially our Jawans who have laid down their lives. It was a very satisfying moment for me as chairman of Indian Oil. So with that, I'll not take more time. I just want to give a thought to IIP that petroleum is something becoming a difficult word. So do we have plans of making IIP as Indian Institute of Energy in the days to come? Because now, well, petroleum we have reached the plateau now. So whatever new developments will come may not be in the processes, but they may come in the catalyst. So I think catalyst function is still there for the refining sector to evolve and exploit. But I think IIP should now become Indian Institute of Energy, may not by name, but then you should improve your focus on the other forms of energy, because that's what the country needs in the days and years to come. So with that, I'll leave. Thank you very much and Jai Hind.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vaidya. A very exciting vision of the future and for possibilities not only for Indian Oil, but for the nation and for us at IIP. And interestingly, this discussion of whether our name should be changed has been going on for several months now. And recently we had our 5-year performance appraisal board, and this has been taken up there itself as well. So let us see. But of course, the brand of IIP as IIP is quite strong.
See, I will remain Indian Oil, but I'm not saying that.
That said, let me thank all our attendees who have joined on YouTube live streaming, and we can stop the live streaming and recording now. We will now move to our internal discussions and visits. Thank you. So, Vedita, thank you. I'd like to quickly go around the table for introductions of all my colleagues, and then we will take you on some